Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our third event in our Centennial Conversation with Composers series. As many of you know, we are in our centennial year here at Eastman, and we have commissioned more than 50 new compositions in celebration of the centennial. It has been a spectacular year with premieres of truly amazing works, and it is just so in keeping with what I think embodies the Eastman spirit, the passion, the creativity, and all of those wonderful things that have been a hallmark of Eastman for its last 100 years. So we hope you enjoy this backstage experience, featuring a unique perspective on the artistry that takes place behind the scenes, and all as we celebrate our centennial. I have to tell you, I could not be more excited than to be here tonight with this fantastic group of people. We have with us Eastman alumna and Grammy Award-winning composer and band leader and holder of an Eastman Distinguished Alumni Award, Maria Schneider. Maria, I'm so glad that you're with us tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have the incredible Dave Rivelo. Dave is the director of the Eastman New Jazz Ensemble and a fabulous composer, arranger, and writer in his own right. And Dave, I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you for having me here.
And I'm really excited that we also have a student with us tonight. We have Hike Demershian, who's a current sophomore and a trombonist. Hi, Hike.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
So I'm going to kick it off with a question or two, and we'll see where the conversation goes. I know we've received some questions from others already, so if we have time, I'll build them in as well. But I'm going to start with Maria. And Maria, you have to tell us about the title of this composition, The Great Potu.
Well, a lot of people know I'm really crazy about birds. If I hadn't become a musician, I definitely would have become an ornithologist. So that's just the baseline here. And I think, you know, my last project that I did, Data Lords, it had a lot of darkness in it. You know, it was this kind of speaking to the ills of the internet and all that. And all of a sudden, one day I was writing, and I started writing another piece that I was thinking was going to be the Eastman Commission, but it was going down the dark path. And all of a sudden, one day I started coming up with this idea. And it was bright and it was joyful. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's a glimmer of hope in me. It's coming out through the music. And as I played it, I started seeing this bird that I'd seen in Brazil called the Great Potu, which is you know, I thought it was pronounced Potu, but then somebody said Potu, and I better figure this out, but Potu or Potu. And it's a bird, it's I guess a nightjar, or it's a bird that is nocturnal, and during the day it looks just like a branch, but at night it's just unbelievable. It's the craziest bird. The mouth, the shape, the head, the eyes, it's just completely bizarre. And one of my favorite things about it is the sound that it makes, which is kind of like what, something like that. So I decided this is a piece for the Great Potu.
I love it. So I had shared with Maria just before we started, you know, I had to do a little research. There he is. There's the Great Potu. And this is quite an interesting character.
Yes, isn't it cute? That's yeah, you can see yeah, there's a lot of different pictures of him. That is one. He looks very strange. I think that's a young one. That's a juvenile for sure.
Very cute. And I see Lee Wolf has joined us. Lee, welcome. Lee is also a student here, first year's master's student, I believe. Lee, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So I'm wondering, Maria, if you could talk about composing this piece, right? It's a commission for the Eastman New Jazz Ensemble. I know you and Dave have collaborated for years and have a relationship that goes back a very long time. Is there a difference writing this piece for this ensemble than when you write for your own ensemble? And what is that? What does that feel like?
Well, I'll tell you, I've written for my own ensemble for so long, literally decades now, that it's very hard to unring the bell of my own musicians. But what I wanted to do in this is kind of, and I've worked with Dave's band a few times, but it's been a while. So I talked to him about some of the features of the band and everything. And I decided to go heavy on the trombones in this because of the history of trombones and the trombone choir. That was one of my favorite things at Eastman, is when they would have that, all those trombones playing, and it was just crazy. It's just a huge memory of mine there. So this piece is pretty trombone heavy. And I was thinking today, I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me that it might be a little bit of a chop buster. Is it painful?
I enjoy it. It's a
Oh, you
chop
like
buster,
pain.
but we figure it out.
Yeah, okay. Is it painful a little bit?
What you gonna do?
Yeah, okay, it is.
So so how has this worked? Have you delivered the whole piece to Dave? Have you sort of given pieces at a time? Are you trying things out? And Dave, how's that for you and the band to sort of be part of the creative process?
Well, I had hoped to get up there and work with the band, and that didn't quite happen, but I have been feeding it to the band, and now I'm getting close to the end. There's a last part. There are two solos. It's featuring two people in the band. There's a tenor solo and then a piano solo. So, and I'm inching my way towards the conclusion, but I wanted to send them music ahead of time so that they could get working on it. And, the things that come at the end, nothing's going to be completely, out of left field. They'll be pretty prepared for most of what, the character of the piece from everything that they've played. And then, of course, we're doing a whole program, we're doing some of my other works too. And so they've been working hard on those too. It's quite a difficult program. It's some of my hardest music. Look Up is a real challenge, right? That's a very for trombone, it's a very virtuosic trombone feature.
Nice. Now, so for those of you who are watching, I don't want anybody to have a heart attack and think, oh my gosh, the concert's tomorrow and the piece is not done yet. I'm actually recording this about 2 weeks in advance. So I have no doubt that the piece will be done and totally polished.
It'll be delivered. I was Bob Brookmeyer's copyist for years, and Dave Rivelo, he can speak about this because Dave, I don't know, you copied for Bob too sometimes, right? Or
I did a lot, actually, yes.
A lot. Okay. So he would tell me there'd be a commission, and he would say that the music was going to be ready 6 weeks before or something like that, and I'd clear my schedule. It was always the last minute, like the 3 days before he's leaving, suddenly just tons of pages coming at me, and it's like 3 days and no sleep, and I'm quick getting it to him as he's walking to the airport. It was just like, and I'm just like, oh God, please don't make me be like Bob.
So it was still that way when I was copying for him, and the first time I thought he was just kind of joking around, where he used to say, the muse sleeps late in this house. And I thought, oh, that's pretty funny. Ha ha ha. Until I copied the first time and realized he wasn't joking.
Yeah. It was a problem. It was really, so I'm way ahead of time compared to Bob.
So Dave, tell us about the whole program and preparing that. And again, I love Eastman New Jazz Ensemble is always so adventuresome in your programming, and I really love the fact that you've dedicated this concert to playing Maria's music. So what's that like for you to prepare that? And I also want to hear from the students about that.
Well, it's really exciting, of course. I mean, to get the opportunity to premiere a brand new piece of Maria Schneider's is really, I mean, I let the ensemble know that that's not, in case they were not sure about it, that doesn't happen anywhere else but a place like Eastman. And so this opportunity, this chance to breathe life into these new notes before anybody else gets to hear it, even before the composer gets to hear her own work in this case, we got to do that. And as a composer myself, there's probably very little that's more exciting than that. And that first rehearsal when we read through the beginning of the piece was really something I'll never forget. And I think that I felt in the room that the band will never forget that either. And so this new piece, getting to do it, is really exciting for us. And then the other music on the program, which is pretty much all new music, one old one from Maria's first record, I think, right, Maria? Dance You Monster?
Dance You Monster, yep.
So we're doing that one, but everything else is from the new Data Lords recording. And it's just, the whole evening is going to be full of electricity. I mean, if you live within 500 miles, you should just come to the concert.
That's great. So, and Lee and Hike, why don't you tell us, you know, Dave has talked to you about this sort of privilege of premiering a new piece and learning a new piece, but does it feel different to you to be playing a piece for the first time than just learning new music? Either one of you.
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, not just talking about the commission piece, the way you, Maria, write is like I've never heard anything before, especially for a big band. And being able to not only like someone I admire so much and being able to play your music, period, is an amazing opportunity, especially with new jazz right now. The band is the craziest that I've ever heard it. I haven't been here for very long, but I can't imagine it's that this isn't one of the craziest bands new jazz has ever been. And
Crazy, define crazy.
Crazy with just so much energy. Everyone has so much energy, and everyone there is such an incredible soloist, and everyone is such an individual that like there's just so much personality in that group that I'm just so excited to play this new piece. And right now we're learning it and learning how to make a Po2 sound through my trombone. It's been quite a process, but being able to play the solo feature on Look Up is such an amazing honor. And being able to see your band play at Birdland taught me so much about being able to play this music with Dave and with new jazz. So I'm very excited to play this.
It's so cool.
Thank you.
Lee, how's life in the rhythm section playing on these new pieces?
Oh, it's really great because in Maria's music, you have such an interactive role. It's not, a lot of big band music, especially for bass players, is rhythm section parts, and you're walking, or in, Jim McNeely's music, there'll be some kind of written part or a vamp or something like that. But in your music, it's like playing in a small group. It's like playing in Gary Versace's JPW. So there's a lot of interaction. And it's so much fun, especially playing with Hayek soloing, because he's such a great listener. And everyone in that band is a really great listener, but it's an opportunity you don't get a whole lot with a big band, but it's very special. And it's a lot of fun for me, especially.
The thing that that's what for me what makes it fun when I bring my music to other bands, because even though yes I conceive it and imagine my players, when I go to another place, I do in most of the pieces try to build it in such a way that there is that element where people can take risks and try different things and throw in different perspectives, and some pieces have more of that than others, but that's the fun, because then it becomes something different everywhere you go, and there's always those memorable moments where you say, wow, that never happened before, that's cool, some different direction. It was really fun. I can't remember now, Lee, were you at the Standard? I know Hike was.
I was at Birdland.
At Birdland.
Yeah, I saw
you were there.
Both Tuesday shows and the late Wednesday show, I think. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really fun. A lot of the band came down from Eastman for when we were playing a week at Birdland. We hadn't played there. we hadn't played in so long. Now we did that week and we just came back from California. So we're back in business again, but it was really fun to see all you guys there. And I was glad you got to hear the band and just kind of get a little taste of the interaction and the different things that can happen with the music. And so you can take that home and experiment.
That's so great. So Maria and Dave, I want to ask a question that I've asked on the previous Conversations with Composers series here. And that's, if you can, describe for us a bit of your creative process. Like, Maria, you were talking about you were working on a piece and it was going in one direction, and then suddenly you started to hear a different sound and you started a new piece. So how do you start with that blank page or blank computer screen, whatever that looks like? And are you the kind of composer who, like, you sit down every morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and write, or do you write by inspiration? How does that come to be?
Oh, you're touching all my pain points. Leave me alone. Well, so here's what before the internet and before email and the constant distractions, I love just getting up every morning and just hitting the writing, letting nothing come between that moment of kind of waking up and getting to the music. But now having the band and having so many different things, and it's so much to take care of. It's really, really hard. It's hard to shut it all out and not end up feeling like I'm chasing my life and that the composition isn't at the center of it. Sometimes I feel honestly like I need to quit music so I can become a composer again. That's how bad it is, that the things that are necessary these days too, and also just to stay visible and out there, all the different kind of media things you have to do. To keep connection. So being a musician right now is very, very complex in that way. It's changed a lot. As far as the composing process, for me, the first part just feels like groping in a dark room, looking for a light switch somewhere, just knowing there's got to be a damn light switch in this room. Where is it, And it's just kind of searching for ideas, in my head. Sometimes I play different things, but what I'm looking for always in a piece is that moment where an idea comes and I feel like a personality emerges. For me, I want each piece to have a personality. It's something, and I don't always know what it is, what it relates to. Sometimes it's just sound, but sometimes it attaches itself, that idea, to something like the Potu did. It's like immediately I saw that bird and I was like, I got to look that bird up and remember, because I remember it was so cool. And then when I saw the pictures, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. It's the Potu. And then once that happens, then what I love about that moment, if the music attaches itself to something, is that then I'm taking, now the pressure is off of me. It's about, this is for the Potu, or don't be evil. This is for Google, and this is for, whatever my the flavor is, I can take it away from because I'm really full of, let's just say negative self-talk when I'm writing a lot of times, that it's like, fraud, don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, there'll never be another idea. And then all of a sudden when things start to come and it's about something else, that peels away and it carries its own momentum. So it's, so it's a bit of an odd process from a technical standpoint. If I come up with an idea sort of intuitively that I like, then what I do is I look at that idea almost like with a magnifying glass, and I say, okay, what's the DNA of this idea, so that I can build something out of this thing that has a cohesiveness, that feels like it's organic, because it's all kind of coming out of the same seed in a way. So that's, yeah.
That's fantastic.
it's
No, I
pretty,
love it.
it's pretty painful, I'm gonna tell you. It's,
But-
you know, a lot of times I cry, Jamal. I cry when I do these things.
I'm sorry. We wanted this to be totally positive for you.
It's not usually
I
totally
assure you,
positive.
when you
It's positive when it's done, and then I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I got that commission, because otherwise I would have never put myself through that.
you know, and the moment you touch down in Rochester and you hang out with these students, it'll be totally positive.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
So Dave, I'll ask the same thing. Again, I'm so excited. Dave is also commissioned to write a piece for the Centennial for us, and we'll premiere your piece in the fall. But what's your process? What can you relate to from what Marie said, but what's different in the way you go about writing music?
It's one of the most fascinating things for me is exactly this, the creative process, even with other artists. So I always, with painters or with how we create something basically out of nothing. And so it is very similar to me that I have the same concerns when I begin, and then I think, well, I guess I wrote my last piece in the last one, and that's it, I'm washed up now. And so I have that same thing too. And I realize now that that's probably not true. If I just kind of press forward, something will happen. But during my my time with Bob Brookmeyer, I now use and teach an approach that he called the 3-pitch module approach. And this is, maybe it sounds dry and sterile, but it's actually really amazing. I say that it's the perfect marriage of intuition and intellect, because using this approach completely draws on everything that the composer has, or arranger even, that musically that's inside them. And so I start with 3 pitches, and basically the pitches are not important, but the intervals are. And from that, then just start building material. And it lines up a lot with the way that Stravinsky seemed to work as well. It's just interval-based composition. And so I generate rows of pitches, not rows in a 12-tone way, but just a series of pitches. And then I play through those, and something will resonate with me. And the thing I found teaching this that's really exciting to me too, is that what I would pick out of the material, if the student and I were looking at the same material, we would pick completely different material from the same starting point and write completely different music. So for me, that's where it begins. And it still is a painful process in the beginning. But over time, I start finding material that feels like it belongs in the piece. And after sketching pages and pages and pages of material, and I still do all of my scores longhand by hand. I've been saying for years that I used to actually, even for Brookmeyer, I had an account with Carl Fisher, who was selling the King brand manuscript paper back then. And so I would order it for Bob and order it for myself. And one day they called me and they said, we're going to stop printing this. We'll give you a great deal. What do you want? And I bought everything I possibly thought I could use, and hopefully I have a lifetime supply stashed in my house. So I do everything longhand, and then I put it into the computer. And I realized for myself, at least, that if I started working directly into the computer, I think I would write different music that I wouldn't necessarily be happy about. I love the process of pencils, the smell of lead, the paper falling on the floor and getting out of order, and all these things. It's all part of it for me. And so with this 3-pitch module approach, it's really an organic way of generating material. And it also helps me not keep, I always, as a joke, I always say, I'm afraid that I'm just going to keep writing the same piece in a different key. So this keeps me from kind of reusing too much of my own material and helps me move forward. So that's the way that the piece begins generally for me. Or if I do get an idea, I write that down, and like Maria said, that I look at that and figure out the DNA, I'll extract intervals from that and then start approaching from an interval point of view.
Oh, awesome. It's really interesting to hear. I love hearing from composers about, again, either what inspires them, the challenges they have, or what that process is, how to get from blank page to something that is, always very special. So I have some questions here that were submitted, and so I'm going to ask one, but I'm going to give Heike and Lee a heads up that, you have this opportunity here to ask Maria Schneider or Dave, a question about that perhaps you've been wondering about. So give it a little thought. I'm going to ask this question to Maria here, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to ask a question. So Maria, one of the questions here is, can you share your perspective on any progress that's made in the industry regarding, it says women in conducting, but I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to change that a little bit to say, you said the industry has changed so much. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Can you give some perspective of what that's like as a woman? And whether you can give us advice or not, what should our students today be thinking about to be prepared to go into this world?
Well, oh boy, so the thing that's changed about the industry is just that largely, especially for recorded music, the free market has been destroyed. Where you can set your own price for your music. I mean, its music has been tied to whatever a streaming company or YouTube says one play is with an ad on it, and or one play on Spotify or whatever, which means everybody is paid exactly the same, no matter if the recording was made in a bedroom for a zero budget, or like mine, about $250,000. So it's like, and music has different size audiences. So this is the big thing that's really changed in the industry. That's very difficult to contend with. And of course, then when music is made to be free, now there's this sea of music. So in order to exist in a sea of free, and to have people pay for for your music, is extremely difficult. On the subject of, and there's various ways, I've gone about doing this through Artist Share and things, and connecting with fans, and it's labor intensive, but it's necessary for me, and it's been very successful. As far as the woman issue goes, I call me oblivious, but I've been so fortunate in my life. I've had supportive people all the way along. I didn't feel horribly at a deficit in my career or something because I was a woman. I felt like I was given wonderful opportunities, treated really well by the teachers at Eastman, like Bill and Ray and Ray Wright, Ray Ricker, all the people there. I came into New York, Bob Brookmeyer embraced me, Gil Evans embraced me. I've had every opportunity I've wanted. So am I different than the world of classical conducting? I would say probably. I've kind of carved out my own niche. A matter of fact, when I started doing this, not that many people stood in front of a big band conducting music and that weren't playing in the band, that was a little bit unusual. Now suddenly a lot of people are doing that.
I love that. And I hope that, and I believe at Eastman, we are trying to stay to those ideals in terms of building a foundation for our students. It's really grounded on artistry, understanding all of music, the understanding how it functions, really thinking about one's role in society, contributing to their community where they live, whether it's the community, the band they're in, the community they're living, whatever that is, that's a foundation from which they can build whatever they want to do in music. But it's still about the music. It's still first about excellence and the artistry. And I'll just add one more thing. I'll never forget, you mentioned Ray Ricker. Ray Ricker once said to me, when you go to New York City, there'll be a network there that'll help you get your first job. I said, no problem. He said, the second job's on you. Why are they going to call you back versus the 60 other people who play all the notes in tune with a great sound? Mm-hmm. And it's really about that integrity of the music and the integrity you bring with it. And with all the technology and everything else that's happening in the world, I think it still comes down to that you're honest and your music has real artistry to it.
The word, when you use the word artistry, I think that's such a powerful word. I've been looking at my book by Robert Henry, The Art Spirit. He was a painting teacher, a painter. And he taught in an amazing school of art in New York, the Ashcan School. But what he talks about so much, and I think it is the thing that nobody can deny in art or in music, is when it takes on a life where the music goes beyond being music. Art goes, if the painting doesn't manifest just art, but it's life, and he talks about drawing an arm. Are you drawing the arm correctly, or are you capturing the spirit of the arm? And I think that in music, it's so much the same. If what you go for in music is the spirit of the music, and you capture something in the music that is that ineffable thing that just makes somebody listen and just say, I was taken somewhere. When you do that, I don't think people care what gender you are. They can't. You have to make your music so great that's off the table. The music is the thing.
That's fantastic. So let's see, Pike and Lee, I said, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask?
Hike?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. There's so much confusion. I was wondering, what kind of musicians you were checking out coming up when you were my age, if you played piano, or were you playing an instrument mostly, or were you mostly composing? Those are just my two main questions. What kind of musicians were you checking out? I know Gil Evans and Brooke Meyer for sure, but besides them, just like small group, like personality soloists.
Well, as far as instrument, so piano was my instrument, although I grew up playing clarinet and then bad violin. But I don't know, Bill Dobbins and Vincent Lenti might say, yes, it was bad piano too. But anyway, it was like kind of not a great pianist, but okay. Let's see, the second part of the question was, forgetting what you just
Who are you listening to and inspired?
Listening to? Yeah. Well, I loved early on some things that really captured me was the harmony of Bill Evans and the inner voicing, the way that, his comping was so connected, the harmonic motion. And that was the thing in Gil Evans, how everything are lines and connecting. The beauty of that. I fell in love with Klaus Ogerman. But then somebody who really had a big impact on me was Tom at the Bop Shop. And Tom, he was a big part of my Eastman education, I must say. He really, I think, he saw me listening to all these beautiful things, and he's like, here, check out Bob Moses, or you should check out this George Russell album, and things that had just a little bit more of a little more grit to it. And I'm really grateful for all those things, and maybe I had the Gil Evans, Miles Davis stuff, but I didn't have, Out of the Cool. And I didn't, I probably, with him, I discovered the individualism of Gil Evans, although that might have come later. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the thing, the old days of the record store, going to the record store and having the person there kind of know you and what you bought and say, hey, you should check this out. Oh, that's such a resource. Go to the Bop Shop. He is still there at the Bop Shop, right?
Yeah, there's still the Bop Shop.
Yeah, he's a great resource.
Yeah,
because there's a problem now, because you can listen to everything. When we were at school, and Dave, you remember, and Jamal, you remember, all there was a phone at the end of the hallway, right? The pay phone. So we didn't have computers, we didn't have phones, we didn't have cell phones, we had nothing except our books, our conversation, and going to school and going into the practice room. That was it. And our record player. And so we each had a very finite number of records, or you could go to the library and listen. And so you would listen to one thing again and again and again in the dark, just taking that in with absolutely no distraction. And that's something even I, who know how extraordinary that is and how transformative it is and soul opening, you know, by the same token, I fall into that thing of letting myself have everything on and taking me away from those moments. But those, I think that it's more important to listen deeply to a few things than to check out everything there is. I think there's this pressure now, like, oh, did you check that out? Did you check that out? You know what? It's like, you don't need to be a master of all trades or what is a jack of all trades and a master of one, you know, just find a few things you love. And, you know, this idea of mastering so much technique in all different ways and becoming a technician, as opposed to reaching for what you want in your art, grabbing the technique that you need to do that, so that your art is leading the technique, or the technique, you're reaching for the technique to help bolster your art to be what you want it to be. To me, that's the goal. And I think having so much out there it puts a horrible pressure on everybody. Did you hear that? No, I didn't hear that. Oh my God, maybe I'm not listening enough. You know, it's that kind of thing. I'd be curious to ask both of you, Heike and Lee, do you feel that a little bit, or you do?
Definitely. No question. Yeah.
How about you,
Absolutely, yeah.
Lee? Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you know
definitely.
what?
But I tend to lean towards, you know, I have 2 or 3 albums that I'll just listen to on repeat for a month or 2 at a time.
Good.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'll listen to a record and it's like an amazing record. And sometimes, really honestly, you won't really feel something from a record that you know you should be feeling something to, because it's like, you know, everything's available to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can listen to an incredible Miles record, and sometimes I might not feel like what I really should be feeling when I listen to this incredible Miles record. The reason I'm not is because I have every possible Miles record, every bootleg recording, alternate take of Bird and Miles. Like I have everything at my fingertips, you know? So it's hard to really appreciate things for what they're worth, you know?
Yeah, it's like going to, you know, a buffet that's all the food from the best restaurant in the world, and you know, they just, here, have this, and in the end, as opposed to, you have one little plate and it's got just very beautiful, just plucked spring peas on it, and a little bit of mint and a little touch of this and a perfect little, and you just eat that and it explodes in your mouth. You know, that's what we should have in music, and that's what all this stuff coming at you takes away. I think it makes us depressed. There is no doubt. There's no doubt about that. Dave,
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I've been thinking about and talking about the fact that we don't look at it this way normally, but I think it's important and valuable that we're as much defined as artists by what we haven't heard as by what we have heard. We tend to only think of what we have heard, but it makes us unique and contributes to us having our own voice also by what is different, what we haven't all heard. So I've been thinking about it kind of in a different way lately, but that exact subject.
it's a really good point. I like that.
That's great. And you know, Marie, you said something years ago that I've never forgotten. I share it with our first year students every September. And because again, we have students who come to us from around the world. They're all, you know, just so talented and so passionate and so exciting. And really what they want to do is, you know, they want to play their instruments. They want to be in the practice rooms. That's it. And that's great. But there are also other courses. And you said something one time, if you want to be an artist, if you want to write interesting music, you have to be an interesting person. And that's very much what you're talking about here as well, is that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be a master of everything, but you should have those things that are yours that make you special and interesting. And that's what will come through in your art. And even for our students, as they learn to perform, yeah, you know, playing the right notes in tune, in time, that's fantastic. But you have to have something to say. And that comes from more than just being in the practice room. But you inspired me whenever that was. It's a long time ago. I read that from you, and I thought, that's my friend Maria. I'm going to keep that. So
Yeah. Well, I've always felt, why do we do music, or why do we make music? It's not just because we want to make music, but music is the conduit for which, we express things about life. And very often for me, well, look at the piece I'm writing for Eastman. It was taking 10 days off from a bird trip. I went to Brazil. I was working down there, and I'd been working like a dog, and I had always wanted to go birding in the Pantanal. So I had a friend who knew the president of the Nature Conservancy in Brazil, and they found me a birding guide. And I went birding with this person for 10 days in the Pantanal. I saw so many birds. Oh my God, it was so extraordinary. And those things, they bring about the feeling of joy that makes you feel like making music. You start to implode if all you do is put pressure on yourself. Well, I need to practice, I need to learn more. Well, it just becomes this impacted stuff with nothing underneath that you use that stuff to make something beautiful and joyous, expressing the wonder of life. You have to experience the wonder of life. It gets to my data lords thing, the look up, noticing the world, as opposed to just letting yourself be just immersed in the world of the phone and the internet.
absolutely. Well, I should wrap this up here, but I have to tell all four of you, I'm so grateful for you being here. Maria, we can't wait for you to come to town. And to all of you who are watching, I hope you will immerse yourself in the music of Maria Schneider tomorrow night at 7:30. For those of you within 500 miles of Rochester, you could drive here and come to Kilburn Hall and hear the music live. And if you're 501 miles or beyond, you could catch us on live stream. So just go to our webpage, the lower right-hand corner, it'll direct you right to the concert. And so again, to all four of you, thanks so much for a really interesting conversation and for being here. And let me just wrap things up here as well by just telling you that we will have our final Centennial Conversation with Composer on May 1st at 7:30. That's going to feature the Grammy Award-winning bassist and composer and producer John Clayton, as well as our pianist and composer and our professor of jazz studies, Bill Dobbins, both of whom have been commissioned and will be having their works premiered on May 2nd. So we hope you will join us here back online May 1st. And in the meantime, join us tomorrow night in Kilburn Hall for what will be a spectacular concert. So to all of you, thanks so much. And thanks so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.